Okay, so yesterday I finally sat down and listened to the Tortured Poets Department because it originally released, ironically enough, the same day that Watcher decided to post their goodbye YouTube video. So that, as you notice from my channel uploads, that's been my main priority and focus for the past week or so. But, I was going to listen to the album sometime Saturday. And I went to Spotify and I said, okay, let's do this. This will be perfect background noise while I edit videos, or let's say if I'm, packing up my room for moving and whatnot. So I looked and I saw, okay, all right, about an hour or so. But then I saw an update talking about how there's an anthology, and I said, wait, what? Oh, okay, this is Taylor Swift. She's always going to release, maybe 2 to 4 bonus tracks. So I clicked on that. Come to find out, whew, 31 songs total, and I said, yeah, I just don't have the time. I don't have the time or just the mental dedication to to sit down and listen to all this at once, because the album itself is 16 tracks, which is about an hour and 5 minutes. But then you have the anthology, which if you add it all together, it's 31 songs total. So what? It's like 15 songs for that, and then altogether it's about 2 hours and 2 minutes or so. This was quite a sit through, if you will, because even though I was working on things while I was playing the songs, I really couldn't help but just sit here and think, well, is it worth the length? Even just the first album itself, or the first 16 songs, because I'm a Swift fan. I've done a few Taylor Swift related videos on this channel, in case you didn't know, or if you're newer here and you only looked at the Watcher content. It comes down to the fact that I remember when Taylor Swift music first came out when I was in high school, like Our Song. And then, of course, as the albums went on, Love Story, You Belong With Me is still one of, if not my favorite Taylor Swift song of all time. I wouldn't describe myself as a Swiftie, but that's the thing about Taylor Swift, though. I think her music has a wider range of appeal to the public, where if you looked at concert footage from some of her earlier, years in the business, you would see grown men in the audience singing every single word to every single song, because her songs were, that catchy. It wasn't just teenage girls, it was just a wide range of people. And I dare say that, well, realistically, I think that she has more appeal to the masses than Beyonce. And that's not to say one is better than the other. Both are incredibly talented, successful women in their own right, with 2023 being the year of Beyonce and Taylor Swift in terms of just taking over the entertainment industry with their, fantastic tours and whatnot. But you cannot deny the fact that Taylor Swift just dominated 2023 as a whole, from her multiple releases to her tour to her dating life. Of course, just being more public than ever before due to dating Travis Kelce, and then her impact on the NFL, and the list goes on. But when it comes to this particular album, I didn't love it. And this, again, I'm not trying to come across as a hater. It's just, hey, again, if you watch the Watcher content, I'm a fan. So when I say these things, it's not coming from a place of hate or disdain. It's the fact that it's just my opinion as a consumer. I don't think the Tortured Poets Department, I would give it an acronym, TTPD, but I'll probably forget it halfway through the video. But I just feel like I didn't enjoy enough of this double album to justify the 2 hour runtime. And to be quite honest, it, man, the first half of the album, from Fortnite to the Alchemy, or track 16, what's it called, Clarabelle, most of it sounded like I was listening to the same song. Because I believe that, this album, you could debatably say it's one of Taylor's most self-aware albums. And as someone who, follows the news on Taylor Swift for the most part, the Matt is it Matt Healy? I believe that's the name of the one musician she dated. If I remember correctly, her and Joe were together for a number of years. But, I think in one of the songs, she even said that, he wouldn't commit or whatever because apparently he had depression, but at the same time, she wanted to get married. So her and Joe had a thing. Then you have, of course, the Travis Kelce relationship now. I think Matt Healy kind of fell in the middle there. I think it was just so short-termed, or it just didn't hit the media. Well, it didn't hit my particular news feeds a lot. Because let's be honest here, the Travis Kelce thing, the Joe thing was on the DL. Like, nobody knew the dude. I don't even believe he was like a celebrity or anything to my knowledge. He was just a low-key guy. Never really heard much about him. Taylor kept it quiet. The Travis Kelce, need I say more? I mean, that you could not escape it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But the Matt Healy thing, it never really popped up on my little corner of the internet. I've heard whispers about it, mostly because fans did not like them together as a couple, and they felt that Matt was a negative impact on her image because he wasn't a good dude, because of controversial things. But I really didn't care for that relationship or the news surrounding it. So the bulk of the songs that focused on that particular relationship, like But Daddy I Love Him, I really didn't care for. Plus, that was one of the longest songs with a runtime about 5 minutes 40 seconds. It just didn't feel like this particular album needed to be as long as it was, even if you exclude the anthology tracks as well. It reminded me of the, what is it, Blood on the Cherry Moon or something. It was that Chris Brown album that was just ridiculously long. Had some bangers on it, but I mean, I'm not listening to some 60 track album. But when it comes to Taylor Swift, I just feel like at the core, there were some songs I liked. Don't get me wrong. There were some songs on here that I actually enjoyed. But like I said, I didn't enjoy enough of this double album to justify sitting for 2 hours and listening to it. When I think of Midnights, I think that was the most recent, new release from Taylor Swift. It has some good songs on it. There were several songs I really enjoyed. Even if you go all the way back to Lover, I liked a good chunk of that album. There were some really good songs. Cruel Summer, Lover, the title track. If I Was the Man. Wow. Yeah, thinking back, that album was pretty solid. It isn't one of my favorites, but I think that album has a special place in, Taylor Swift's discography, because wasn't it the first album that she put out since she didn't get her masters back, but I think it was her first album post Big Machine Records, so that's what really made it stand out. Well, yeah, it has some good tracks on there. But when it comes to, Midnight, you have Antihero and Bejeweled and a few others I still listen, on repeat sometimes. But with this album, nah, I got to be in a certain mood if I want to listen to some of these songs. I think that maybe because there was just so much to consume at one time, I have to listen to it, maybe again, but not anytime soon. Maybe like in next week kind of thing. I kind of need a break. I got swifted out, to be blunt about it. There was just too much here. It kind of reminded me of one of the lesser discussed albums from Michael Jackson's career, Invincible, where it was just way too long. There were too many cooks in the kitchen in terms of like writers, producers, and whatnot. And you could almost say, like with Taylor Swift, with this album, it almost felt like a Midnights Part 2. It felt like the second and third album for the triple album that was Midnights, when you kind of look at it from that perspective, because it just felt like this was more of a, this was called The Tortured Poet, so I guess that's why this felt more like poetry and dreary stuff as compared to like pop and upbeat stuff. But I don't know, this album didn't do it for me. It really didn't. And like I said, not trying to come across as a hater, but I think that some could argue, because there's a YouTube channel called Honest that I follow, and they posted a video about how Taylor Swift could be, dealing with the issues that Marvel is now, that when you're kind of at the top of the world where nobody else can compete with you, it almost feels like you get comfortable putting out just anything, knowing it's going to succeed. But sometimes these things flop, because the album came out, like a week ago from the time I'm recording this video, I haven't heard many people talking about it. Now, it's kind of funny because maybe the album is just way too long that people haven't had enough time to listen, form thoughts and opinions, and do reviews or give their thoughts. But the only two things I've heard about this album, like constantly, the apparent Kim Kardashian diss track and the, what is it called? Like the 1830s lyric. I think those are like the only two things I've heard in terms of like people constantly talking about it. Other than that, I wouldn't want to say it's fallen off because it was successful. I think it broke some sort of Spotify record the day that it broke, because let's be honest here, it seems like breaking Spotify records whenever she puts out music, that's like breathing for Taylor Swift. She's going to break at least several 2 to 4 records whenever she puts out new music. But I just feel like over the past couple of years, there has been such an oversaturation of Taylor Swift. And like I said before, I'm not hating. The success is well deserved. She's worked hard at the craft. But in terms of as a normal consumer, you have the multiple re-releases of her old albums, because she's re-recorded them. Then you've had, a couple of new albums, Midnights and the most recent one, Tortured Poets. Then, of course, the huge Eras tour she went on. And then, of course, her relationship with Travis has been taking the media by storm. So, yeah, it's easy to see how some people are kind of swifted out. And then when you come up with the new music, it's kind of like, doesn't really live up to the hype. That's not to say, oh, she's overrated. No, it's just like, I wasn't really feeling this. But to be honest, if you look at albums like, what's it called? Folklore and Evermore, not my genre of music. I didn't really care for them. I kind of sat those out. But I went back to them, I want to say a few months ago, and I listened to some songs, August and Cardigan. Really good songs, really good. But yeah, that's not my genre. That's not my bread and butter there. But there were some good songs on there. But yeah, this one, I don't think the Tortured Poets department is going to make that much of an impact. Yeah, I see it used in reels that people post and whatnot, but it's not really doing what the Swift machine usually does when she pumps out new music. But I don't know, maybe when some music videos drop or something, some of these songs will catch on more. But like I said, I'll give it a re-listen in the near future, specifically the first 16 songs. The anthology bonus tracks, I'll listen to those another time. But let me know what you thought of this double album. Do you think it was good? Do you think it was one of her best work? Or do you just feel like it didn't really hit the mark? It was okay. It wasn't the worst thing she done, but maybe next time chop off some of the fat. I don't think that all these songs really need to come out when they did. And, it would have been cool if she would have did like, what did Justin Timberlake do? You had the 2020 Experience, and then he had like, what was it called? I forgot. I know it was like 2 albums. You had the 2020 Experience, and then there was like a part 2, I guess, to be like, hey, it's 2020, so boom, 2 albums. But yeah, I don't think Taylor Swift hit the mark with this one. So that's all I got to say. Like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video.